Use Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide with IGR. Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide controls houseflies, stable flies, horse flies, black flies, horn flies, and deer flies on cattle with just one application and zero withdrawal. And it's the first cattle insecticide pour-on product to include an insect growth regulator. Bite back with Cleanup 2 Pour-On Insecticide. See product label for complete product information, indications, and application instructions.
And a quick note, the deadline for applications to fund agricultural land easements in Florida is today, May the 6th. USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service will provide financial assistance to conservation partners to purchase an agricultural land easement that protects the ag use of cropland, rangeland, grassland, pasture land, and non-industrial private forest land. More information can be found on our website, southeastagnet.com, or contact your local NRCS office. Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
Today will be partly sunny with a shower thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 86 to 90. Sunshine Thursday and Friday, high tomorrow 79 to 84, high Friday 86 to 92. Then Saturday we'll have clouds, a little sunshine, and a high of 88 to 93. Low clouds Sunday, a couple of showers possible with a high of 74 to 78. Then rain, some heavy, will affect the area Sunday night. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holden.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA, The Source Radios. We're 5 minutes past the top of the 8 o'clock hour. It's time for Life South Community Blood Centers with Galen. We've got Galen on the phone. Good morning, Galen.
Hey, how you doing this morning, Adam?
I'm doing all right. I don't know. I just I found a soapbox and I stood on it for a little bit, my friend. I'm forest for the trees. I guess I'm starting to see. I think I had my head down a little bit through the majority of the months of doing this, and I guess in a way. Yesterday was an interesting day. I went to go pick up some tacos for Taco Tuesday in Cinco de Mayo, and it was really interesting to be out and about. I went to the local taqueria, whatever, tacos, and it was a 45-minute wait. And that's okay because it was an absolutely beautiful evening. So I thought to myself, well, if anything, I'll just take a walk around the little complex. I can be outside for a little bit. It's beautiful. So I got to wait 40 minutes. I wanted to take a walk down to the one store that I actually seen that looked to be open, music store, Guitar Center. And I order the tacos. I wait. Just how things are with being around a lot of people. By the way, too, in the restaurant to order, there were a lot of people waiting for their food, and everybody, you could just tell the whole demeanor is walking on eggshells. Everybody is caught in this in between. Like, do I do as responsible as I can to stay 6 feet apart, or does it even matter anymore? And it comes to a point too where, at my other job, there's a moment there where I shook hands with somebody, and then I gave somebody a hug, and then we step back and we go, oh shoot, what did we just do? Oh wait. And then we're like, well, we're in the confines of our own building, on our own property, doing our own thing anyway, and we know where we're at. We know that we're not infected by it. It's more of a close-knit community in the other job that we work. So is what we're doing wrong? No. But we're being told by the state, by the federal government, that it is. So at what point can we just try to get back to normal? Because this isn't it. This phase one isn't it. I don't know.
No, well, you brought up a bunch of stuff. All right. I agree with your rant. I think you realize when you pay that close attention to it, you realize why people just have to unplug.
Yeah.
One of the eye-opening moments for me and it wasn't always this way, right? We didn't always have this 24-hour news cycle.
Right.
But social media's created it. And once social media did it, now the news companies have to keep up with it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
They have to make it urgent that you have to watch because they have to get eyeballs because they want those big salaries. So it's just this, it feeds the cycle. And so one day I said, I'm going to watch an hour of news. I'm going to watch an hour of the news channel. And I want to know how many times they use the term breaking news. Right? Breaking news, when they have that flash.
Yep.
And so one channel did it 14 times.
Within an hour?
In an hour.
Good Lord.
And it was the same thing over and over again. But they just rebrand it and repost it. So, but that's how they get you to lock in.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of it is just so unimportant. And they'll make it, and again, I've said this many times, news has become what sports talk was in the 90s.
Yep.
Where you just debate the point and you beat it into submission, right? And,
right.
And again, I did it, and I think I did it pretty well. And you beat it into submission to the point where nobody even remembers the point. They just remember that you won the battle.
Right.
And winning that battle is more important than being right. So, and you throw out some ridiculous arguments that are impossible to prove. Mm-hmm. And now you've got something, right? Because now that's compelling.
Right.
Very compelling.
It's compelling. Yeah.
So, I found it interesting during the break, during the news update, Trump says, these models haven't been right yet.
No.
And the models don't have, whatever in it. And so he comes back, and the first thing the newscaster says is, no, that does include mitigation in those numbers. Okay. Right? So, it's like everybody's got to be an expert.
Yeah.
I find it amazing. So, heck, guess what? Trump's right. Those models haven't even been close to right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are supposed to be body bags, and I read an article about what are we going to do with all the bodies? Are people going to be allowed to have a funeral, or is it going to be backlogged by 6 months, waiting for somebody to dig the grave? Right? I'm like, wow, this is terrible. Again, that's what they do. They feed the beast.
Yeah, and with that, the point you made, like, it's kind of like you said, with the sports radio, you end up just debating it, and it's not about where the information came within the conversation. It's about whether or not you won. And that's where things you can agree with, say, have become so polarized. Because if it's something that's been brought up, say a news article or a piece of it, it has to be debated to where you're on one side or the other. Period.
Sure.
You're for or against. And then at the same
there's
time,
no neutral ground.
Right, and at the same time, you pointed it out before that they take themselves, the news media, so seriously, so much so that you can't look back and laugh it off a little bit. And one of my favorite shows used to be because they would find a way. There was some more. Basically, I'm talking about the Daily Show on Comedy Central. It's gotten out of hand from where it's at now. But see, back in the day when its inception, it was there to make fun of the news and the media, to allow us to say, all right, yeah, I was wondering there for a minute on Wednesday about the article about whether or not we're going to be dead by Sunday. I can laugh it off because they didn't have the exact sources that would make it sound like this is really something that important to listen to. And see, we really don't have that filter anymore. And you nailed it. There's so much more information, like you said, 14 times breaking news within an hour. And then guess what happens? You can't figure out what's the important information to know. And then it becomes convoluted. And look at this. We're in a world pandemic. We're in a crisis with this coronavirus. And people can't find the information they need. And it becomes hearsay. Everything. Because it's an onslaught.
Well, yeah, speaking of that, I brought up, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I'm like, well, according to the CDC, they're like, well, you can't listen to the CDC.
Yeah.
You have to listen to NIH. And I'm like, what? I said, I said, okay, I guess, and so it becomes this. My information is right, your information is wrong, and they pit you against one another because common ground is bad. Coming to an agreement on something is terrible.
It's terrible. It's bad. It's bad.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terribly. It's not entertaining. They want conflict.
Yeah.
They want that whole drama. They want news to be like your cop show where there's a good guy and a bad guy, and you have to decide which is which.
Yep.
I do want to share a funny story yesterday. So I went to Home Depot after the show, and in Gainesville, they are much, much more stringent on the mask. In Ocala, I doubt they even made you wear it in like the Guitar Center, right?
Oh, they weren't even open, but had been so. Yes, they were talking about. They had a guideline set up right in the beginning, but it wasn't. It was recommended, just like when we mentioned the Panic Mall opening up this Friday. It is recommended to wear a mask, but it's not required.
All right. Well, in Gainesville, it's a requirement.
Okay.
So I go into the Home Depot and I have a mask because I go into hospitals and stuff. And so I'm like, gosh, I think they're ridiculous. I've made that clear. So I'm walking in, and there's a guy in front of me. He's probably about 25 feet in front of me, and he's standing outside. And as I'm walking, I can hear him. He's going, I don't have a mask. I just have to. You can tell he had like a landscaping business or something. He goes, I just need to get a part.
Yeah.
I need to get a part. I'll be in and out in 5 minutes. And the ladies, there's two of them there because they're traffic controlled. And she says, sir, I can't let you in without a mask. And he goes, well, I don't have one. Can I go in there and buy one? They're like, no, we don't have any. And then the guy next to him says, sir, you just need something to cover your face. Even a T-shirt will do. He goes, a T-shirt? And he says, yeah. So he took off his shirt, wrapped it around his head, and the guy goes, yeah, go ahead. So now you got a guy walking through there
with no shirt.
Right, no shirt on and boots. And I'm walking by as this all happens because the timing is perfect. And I look at him and I give him a nod, and I just start laughing. And he's laughing. The guy at the door is laughing, and the girl is absolutely mortified.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is where we're at. The guy is walking around Home Depot with a T-shirt, thinking that's going to keep him safe. That's where I was at. And is Kathy Bryant still coming on tomorrow?
Hopefully.
The show?
If not Kathy Bryant, we might have another county commission. But yeah, we're hopefully can have him in the studio.
I love that article. I read that article yesterday. I know you talked about how, she basically called out the governor and said, hey, he hasn't talked to us. We want to go open 100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame that local government, let's be very clear, I have a lot more control over who my city council is and my county commissioners are than I have over the governor.
Yep.
You could really make a strong argument that your vote for president doesn't even matter in 75% of the states.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 6 states that matter. We happen to be one of them. And so if I entrust my county commissioner because they're closer to my worldview and my values.
Yep.
And the fact that DeSantis hasn't even listened to him. I mean, he drove through our county twice. If he went to Daytona at the hospital over there, and then drove back across Sarasota.
Yeah.
He's been crisscrossing it. So I'm sure he would go to the Villages if they asked him because of all those votes there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is he's got every vote here because we're all Republicans. For the most part, it's a red county. I hope he gets called out on that because there hasn't been a single word after phase 1.
No.
The numbers continue to decline. What are we doing? This 25%, I have eaten in a restaurant the last 2 days, and I felt good.
Yeah.
Felt real good. Got a tea refill. Had somebody come by my table and say, hey, can I get you anything else? Or how is everything? And I just smiled and said, everything's fine. Mm-hmm. I was the only person in there. I think you're right. There's that fear of, oh my gosh, what do I do? And it's not necessarily, and it's on both ends. I respect people who want their own personal space.
Yes, absolutely.
I do.
Absolutely, I do.
I respect that.
Absolutely.
And so,
yeah, because some places you go into, you're like, I want that.
If they're offended that I'm not wearing a mask, I would find that ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
But I would understand it, because if you're watching the news, you should probably go out in a hazmat suit. Did you see? And there's a lot of disturbing things that come across, and I May 4th was May the 4th be with you, right? That's become a thing.
Yeah.
And there was this girl, this teenage girl, who was in Canada, and she was walking around in a stormtrooper outfit, right? Did you see this?
I didn't fill us in.
So she's walking, she parks her car, apparently, you find this out later, but she's parked her car, and she has to walk a block to where she works at a comic book store. And in that block, she's carrying one of those fake stormtrooper guns that's obviously plastic, right?
Yeah.
On the way, she gets attacked by 3 different Canadian police officers. They bring her to the ground, they handcuff her, and they arrest her for brandishing a weapon in public. Oh. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the common sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where's it's May 4th, right? Even you could, they didn't even stop and say, because somebody, of course, everything is videoed, and somebody's videoing it, and they're screaming at her, and she goes, and I'm sorry, if the police roll up on you and they start screaming at you, and you're probably going to panic. And so she just, and she can't really answer their questions or anything, and she's crying, and it's horrendous. And all I could think to myself is, if that was in the wrong neighborhood, she would have gotten shot.
Yep.
Where are we? Where?
Yep.
And this is my point overall: is where are we at with just common sense? Just common sense.
Yeah.
The world needs it more than ever.
I just pulled
And
that
God.
up. Yeah.
It needs God bad. The world definitely needs God. We have lost our true north, which is God, and I think we've lost our direction on that, but that's a completely different topic.
And I brought up the point. I think a lot of it is when you have to take one side or the other, because like you said, they like the conflict. The media likes to see that battle royale, if you will. And at the end of the day, truthfully, that's how we're supposed to feel. We're supposed to feel offended if somebody doesn't agree. And then what happens is we start to notice that more and more people start to get offended by things that shouldn't be considered offensive. Or think back to when you were a younger, partner, and I know this probably still goes on because you're within sports and everything. When you're a teenage boy and you're hanging out with your buddies, you do nothing but rip on each other. If you've done something to make yourself vulnerable, you rip on each other. The absolute reason why that happens is so that you guys can feel more comfortable around each other. Because if you got something to say about it, there's a moment, I get it, where it becomes too much, where it could feel like a bullying. But that's when you step up and say, hey, man, that's a little harsh. Don't talk about my mama that way.
You think it's too much that I make fun of Dan's golf game?
Not at all. Not at all. Because I've seen his golf game. It is horrendous.
It's horrendous.
Now, I can come to agreement that there are some good things about that golf game, and you put out stories about that one with that one chip shot that skyrockets in flight and landed like a butterfly with sore feet.
It was unbelievable. But you are right, and I think we've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
So, my boys are that way because that's how I kind of talk to them, because I'm not going to share my emotions directly, because it's not that I don't know how, I'm not comfortable doing it that way.
Right, and most men are, honestly, because that's I remember growing up. It's like, Dad and I say I love you now, but back then it was when my dad called me by my nickname, called me over to help him sharpen his knife. That was my dad saying that he loved me in that moment. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely. And I tell my wife, I said, men don't talk. We do things together, right? It's like, so my boys and I, we redid our whole bathroom, scraped the walls, re-put skim coat, painted it, and we did that together. And during that time, we probably said 5 words to each other. But that was a big moment. Now we're going to do some mill work together, and that's we probably won't talk then either. That's okay. You're not supposed to.
Right.
We hear enough talking all day long.
Yeah, and even if it does, though, it's something that needs to be spoken about in that moment. Maybe it's something that now your son feels comfortable enough to say, I'm working with my dad here in the bathroom. Maybe it's just been on my mind. Maybe I'll throw it at him, see what he thinks. That's the whole reason. Like growing up, that's the whole reason why my dad would be like, "Hey, Scoop, you want to have a catch?" We go out in the backyard and throw the baseball. After about 5 minutes of throwing a baseball, he starts talking to me about something that he wants to get off his chest, just something in his work life or whatever. And that's how it goes. And like you said, in some way, shape, or form, throughout the gradual progress here in the last decade, we've lost sight of a lot of those simple things. And I'm going to say it. I think media is a big reason, was one of the big reasons why. I blame them a little bit, because at the end of the day, if you can't make fun of yourself and then relax a little bit and not be offended, what can you do? What kind of sense of humor does this country have nowadays? And you know as well as I do, even stand-up comics who do it for a living are even to the point now where I'm like, well, do I sabotage my career by going a little bit more, push the limits a little bit more, which are the envelope is so much smaller now. And then you have somebody like Dave Chappelle who pretty much said, hey, I ruined my career at one point, so I've got nothing to lose now. So he goes on Netflix and he's refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you have to be offended by everything. And I tell people all the time, there's maybe one thing you could offend me about, and that's if you make fun of my kids, unless you know them.
Yeah.
Then you can make fun of them. But if you want to make fun of my wife for marrying an idiot, I respect that. You're right. I told that to somebody, and she's like, what? You feel that way? I'm like, yes. And have you ever been hanging out with your friends and you do something and you're like, and you know it's coming, and they don't rip you for it, right? You say something wrong and they don't make fun of you, and you go, hey, what's wrong?
Yeah.
We didn't think we could go. I'm like, well, look, you better make fun of that.
Yeah.
If you don't make fun of what I just did, then we're gonna have a real problem.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, all those things. And I think it's the same knee-jerk reaction. Like if you fall, if I see somebody fall, and if I know them, I'm probably gonna laugh first.
Right. And then help them up.
And then I'll help them up, maybe, depending on what the situation is, or I may just laugh for them once I know they're all right. And I don't think that's wrong. I don't. And now, I wouldn't laugh at my wife because she would kill me,
Right.
But if my son fell, I would laugh. So we were at a basketball game, and he got crossed up, and he completely fell and just hit the court really hard, and I'm just laughing. And my wife's like, "Why are you laughing at?" I'm like, "Look, if you don't think that's funny, then you don't understand men at all." And so after the game, my wife says, "Yeah, your father laughed at you after that happened." He goes, "I laughed at me." I mean, what else are you gonna do? Cry? I think because there is no sports gap, there is no distraction. You can't turn on the golf tournament and take a nap.
Right.
All that's gone.
You nailed it.
Dealing with the NBA playoffs right now, all that is gone, and so it's really, really difficult to unplug.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very difficult right now. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
My son went to Jervey Gant yesterday. He got kicked out.
Is that right?
He and a bunch of buddies, they just decided we're going. And there ended up being about 30 people there. And they kicked them all out. So they went to a church and played in the church parking lot where there's a basketball hoop.
Is that right? Yeah.
And my wife's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "No, good for you, son. That's freedom." You got to fight for freedom sometimes, and maybe this generation will learn how to fight for their own freedom.
Yeah,
every generation has to.
Maybe they'll be more
maybe
aware.
They'll realize you got to, that's not free. You got to fight for it once in a while. And there's going to be more and more of these protests at capitals. I'm waiting for the one in Florida, because if I can go, I'll go. So I'll make that happen. And DeSantis is losing my vote. I don't know what I'll have to vote against or vote for, but right now I'm not giving him $1, that's for sure.
Gotcha. With this segment, Galen, appreciate it, buddy. We want to thank Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located at 2700 Southwest 34th Street. They offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Any questions on what they're doing with COVID-19 and where they're going to end up, give them a call, 352-854-6262, 854-6262. And Penn Flooring, for all of your flooring needs, full-service flooring company dedicated to finding the best solution that you need, commercial and residential. 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala, 351-3420. Galen, we appreciate it. Real quick, just a shout, as far as anything new with the Bloodmobile or where that might be.
Yeah, we're still just make an appointment. Please, just make an appointment, 622-3544. We need platelets. We need platelets pretty desperately. For now, supplying Moffitt Cancer Center. We're the largest platelet user in the state of Florida. So we need a lot of platelets, and call us. Or go to our website, lifesouth.org. A lot of information there. And again, we'd love to see you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, partner. Be safe getting up there, and we'll be chatting at you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be in a better mood.
All right, my man. Be good.
You got it.
Bye, y'all.
And WOCA Ocala, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM. It's Wednesday, isn't it? It's hump day, baby. We'll be back right after this.
Showing daily coronavirus deaths nearly doubling by next month as more businesses reopen, and 130,000 total deaths by August.